14:20 in the morning for the December 29th, 2022, brought to you by Manscaped and manscaped.com. Use promo code 1420SCAPED at manscaped.com or .ca today and get 20% off all your men's grooming products and free shipping that comes along with that at manscaped.com. 1420SCAPED. Still have the West Coast affiliate out here in Parksville, BC, leaving tomorrow, but a little bit of a late start this morning. Got a comfy spot in the bed and didn't want to move, but had some breakfast, watched some hockey. But we thought we'd get this show out to you guys for your listening pleasure, for your maybe your commute home. If you're on the East Coast, man, it's already at 2 o'clock out there, 11 o'clock here on the West Coast. But anyways, we thought we'd start to talk some hockey as we usually do this time of year. The World Junior Tournament's going. It was a Connor Bedard show for Team Canada last night. We all know the Bedard story. He's the wonder kid, 17 years old from Vancouver, BC. He's putting up points in the Western Hockey League with Regina Pats, selling buildings out all over Western Canada. Whenever the Bedard show shows up, you got to get your tickets because it's must-watch hockey. This I don't know if he's a generational talent or if he's a franchise player or a superstar or what he's going to be, but he definitely he's putting up some big numbers at the World Junior Tournament. Yeah, it was 7 points last night against a weaker Germany opponent, but you gotta do it. And he looked like he's a real deal. He made a couple passes last night. The one no look pass. I don't know if you've seen it. Take a look on all the highlight packages if you get a chance, because it was something to behold the way this kid was dominating. He has a nose to the net and he's quite good. Definitely, the kid is definitely talented, like I said. But tanking for a hockey player, I don't know if that's the wisest thing to do. You have a lot of teams. You got Chicago's, Montreal, Phoenix, Ottawa, Philly, Columbus, Anaheim, and the like of those teams that are kind of vying for a kid that you don't know what you're going to get when it's all said and done. Because what could you don't know if it's going to. You need more than one guy for a hockey team. You need more than one guy to win championships. You ask a team like Edmonton year after year when they were getting those first overall picks with Taylor Halls, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Nail Yakupov, and now McDavid, and with not very much playoff success over the years with those first overall picks. Yes, this Bedard kid is supposed to be better, obviously, than Yakupov, but all these other guys that the Oilers haven't had a whole bunch of success with these first overall picks, with tanking and the like, and going out and getting a guy like you look at McDavid. They already had a guy in place with Leon Draisaitl, so they already had their 1-2 punch, and they haven't had much success with that. The thing is with tanking, it worked for the not the Philadelphia Flyers, the Chicago Blackhawks when they got Kane and Taves, but they also had a Norris Trophy winning defenseman, or future Norris Trophy winning defenseman, a future Hall of Fame guy in Duncan Keith on the back end. So that was part of the success that you had with Chicago. With the Pittsburgh Penguins, you had Sidney Crosby, obviously a generational player, a guy that put up big numbers. Everybody knew he was going to when he's playing for Rimouski. When he was playing in junior, he was even when he was at Chautauqua St. Mary's as a Bantam hockey player before he went to Rimouski. Everybody knew that Crosby was a generational guy. But you also had Evgeny Malkin on the roster already, and then you had Chris Letang, and they had a goaltender that allowed them to win a Stanley Cup or two or three or whatever it's been. So tanking, I don't know if fan bases will like that very much. It's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to sell to your fan base that we're going to be bad. We aren't going to be successful. We're going to try to get as bad as we can and you sell that to your fan base. It's got to be a tricky thing because nobody wants to go to a game to see their team lose. That's not a thing. You don't pay for tickets. You don't wear your jersey. You don't buy beers. You don't do pay for the parking. The whole bit, 'cause it's an expensive venture, and to go to a game hoping for your team to lose doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. And you can see the crowds in Montreal, Ottawa. I mean, who cares about Phoenix? They or Arizona, I guess they're called the Arizona State Coyotes. Nobody cares about those teams, that team out in Arizona a whole bunch. So their bottom line isn't affected a whole bunch by ticket sales. But you see these other teams, like you to sell that to your fan base that you're going to lose, that you're going to be crappy for a hockey player who's 17 years old and putting the weight of a franchise on an unproven commodity. Is there a chance he's going to be great? Yes. Is there a chance he might not be? Yeah, there absolutely is. I mean, you look at a guy like this is a long time ago, but you look at a guy who went first overall, scored 200 plus points in the Quebec Junior League by a guy by the name of Alexander Daig. That didn't turn out well for Ottawa at all. That means it's a different era and a different thing. But the thing is, if you're putting that kind of pressure onto a kid and he doesn't deliver, that's pretty tough pill for a fan base to swallow. And like I said, to expect people to buy tickets on a daily basis, weekly basis, a couple times a year, season tickets, the whole bit, and saying that we're going to lose, I don't know how much I like it. Problem is you don't want to get stuck in that mediocrity thing we talk about all the time. Look like the Vancouver Canucks have been and playing some better hockey as of late, but you don't want to get stuck in that mediocrity base where you're just good enough and just good enough. You make a playoffs, you might win a round, and then you don't do anything forever because there's no hope for a championship in Vancouver this year, and they're going to probably lose some players. Bo Horvat's probably leaving, and so then you got to start it all over again. So is breaking it down completely the way to go? I don't know, because you look at a team like they ended up in Tampa with Stamkos when they got the first overall pick with him. It's worked out well with him, but they also ended up getting a really good goaltender, and they ended up getting some really good defensemen in Victor Hedman. So you have to have that 1-2 punch, that 1-2-3 punch actually, or even the fourth guy. You can't expect one guy to do it all. And it's for the pressure he put on a 17-year-old kid wherever he's going, and he's going first overall. There was no doubt. Like earlier in the season, there was a few articles you read in the hockey news and that prospect thing, that this Fantilli kid that plays at Michigan, that he was supposed to be the next coming of, and the like. He's a good player. He's not a great player. He looks a little overmatched at times in the first two games this tournament. He's playing at Michigan, playing his higher competition. A lot of older guys that play college hockey compared to what Bedard's playing, but there's no doubt that Bedard's going first overall. So we'll stop that talk 100%. But he's a generational guy. We hate using that term generational till you see it. But you end up, just ask Edmonton. Like I said, ask Edmonton how they feel, because they've gone through a lot of tanks. They've gone through the whole bit. Then you look at a team like Toronto. Toronto tanked, and they ended up getting a guy by the name of Austin Matthews. They still haven't won a round. They have Matthews, Marner, and Nylander. They went out and signed Tavares. There's been a lot of pain over the years in Toronto, and they haven't won a playoff round since 04 and the like. So tanking for a player isn't always the easiest thing. It's not a guarantee that you're going to win anything, because there's still a lot of NHL teams that are really good. A place that Bedard might go, where you have that second, that might help out, where you already have that second guy, a really skilled player, is a place like Anaheim with that Trevor Zegras kid, another highly skilled player, but it's a different game now. So maybe that's a place where Bedard could end up, and it might help them. But be careful what you ask for, fans, because and like, the one thing I'd like to know is how ownership, or how a general manager or the management group goes to the ownership group and says, hey, we're going to lose for a couple of years to try to get this kid that we don't know anything about. We think he's going to be really good, but we're going to lose, and the building's going to be empty. You're not going to get parking. You're not going to get beer sales. You're not going to get hot dog sales and the like. Jersey, like the whole bit. So you wonder how a general manager would go to a team and say, hey, let's, or to the ownership and say, because owners like money. They like money a lot, and for an owner to agree to something like this in just the hopes that you're going to win a championship, because championships bring money for a long time, and it gives your fan base a reprieve, and it gives the general manager a bit of a reprieve for a few years if you have a banner hanging in the rafters. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, where Bedard ends up going. He's going to be a really good player. Is he a franchise guy? Is he a generational guy? Who knows? But it's going to be interesting to watch how it all pans out. Canada's got should be an easy one tonight with Austria. He's probably going to put up a few more points tonight, and then get to the higher echelons of the World Junior scoring guys, guys by the name of Lindros and the like, that put up some big numbers in their World Junior days. So it's been an interesting tournament so far. There's been a lot of great games, a lot of upsets. If you're a hockey person down in the States and you don't know much about the World Junior Tournament, find it on the NHL Network and give it a watch, because these kids from all over the world are giving it their all, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Anyways, there's my take on tanking. I don't know if I'd like it as a fan. I don't know if I would go to a game as a fan, because it smells, because you don't have any guarantees that anything's going to happen, and the fortunes of your team are going to change, because every team is only one injury away from your superstar not being there ever again anymore. And hockey's a pretty fast and violent game that could go side